Another week in the NFL, another week closer to the Packers being number one. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Today I'm turning 35, which means I'm old. I'm old. Grossi, and today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams heading into week 3 of this NFL season. And things got even crazier in week 2. Of course, you had the insane comebacks and the primetime games in week 1. But week 2, you had missed kicks, you had blowouts, you had a ton of penalties. And while it's going to take a few more weeks to really get the identities of all of these teams, because it usually takes until October, things are starting to become a little bit more apparent. And before we break down the top 10, we gotta do our honorable mentions of the week. The first is gonna be the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, who last week, their offense did not look so great. Their defense under Mike Macdonald has looked much better ever since last season. And heading into this week, there is a little bit more at stake going against a good Steelers team whose defense was a little questionable week 1, but they were able to come away with a win. And this week for Seattle, their offense looked a whole lot better. They established the run game with Kenneth Walker. And on top of that, they know how to make special teams plays, or at least they didn't forget the rules on how special teams worked for the new kickoff. But overall for the Seahawks, they looked a lot more balanced this week. And I think that that is pretty damn good going forward within a division that I still think is pretty open. Now, the one downside is right at this moment, they are the only team with a loss in the NFC West. But again, it is only week 3, so there is still plenty of time. You wanted to see a boost from that offense and see how Sam Darnold was going to be within that scheme. And while I do think he's still probably going to be a stopgap quarterback there, I think they may have made the right decision in getting rid of Geno Smith after seeing last night's game. And overall, the Seahawks deserve an honorable mention. Another honorable mention, we're not going far. We're sticking within the NFC West to talk about the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, when Brock Purdy went down, who was expected to miss 2 to 5 weeks, I was like, all right, this could be problematic. However, Mac Jones was able to operate that offense. Christian McCaffrey looked really good. But the story for the 49ers over these past 2 weeks has been how much Robert Saleh has made that defense better. Of course, him returning to San Francisco, it was met with a ton of praise and excitement from 49ers fans because they have been missing a good, solid defensive coordinator for quite a bit. And so with Saleh coming back, you could see the impact as that defense is flying all over the field. They had a great game on Sunday. And hey, Mac Jones, if he can operate that offense consistently, I don't think Brock Purdy's going to be out of a job, but I do think they can win a few games in his absence. And then finally, the last honorable mention, I gotta go with the 2-0 Cincinnati Bengals. And you know why they are not in the top 10 right now, because yeah, Joe Burrow's going to be out for at least 3 months. A grade 3 turf toe, and this is honestly heartbreaking for the Bengals. Their defense is looking much better than what it was last year. Trey Hendrickson played really, really well this past week. They were able to get a win against the Jaguars, but ultimately losing Joe Burrow. And listen, Jake Browning is a very good quarterback. He is a very capable quarterback. They can win a bunch of games with Jake Browning. The problem is, and there's a couple problems here, is that Joe Burrow is going to miss so much time that it is tough to expect Jake Browning to be able to carry them until around December. So that is going to be really tough. And on top of that, if this is Trey Hendrickson's last year with the Bengals, like we all assume it's going to be, this is kind of their all-in season. And that creates a whole lot of long-term concern for the Bengals, just trying to keep that core group together. Of course, you still have T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase went absolutely off on the Jaguars secondary. And like I said, Jake Browning is a capable quarterback. I think they're going to win a bunch of games with him. I think it's just going to be tough to go against some of the elite teams in the NFL. They got the Vikings next week. It'll be Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz, the showdown no one's waiting for. But for right now, because they lost Joe Burrow, they have to be an honorable mention. And hey, maybe they'll go on a run with Jake Browning. I'm so sorry. Kitty goes out. So that means starting off with number 10. You crazy sons of guns. You got the Indianapolis Colts. Who would have thought after 2 weeks, the Colts would not only be undefeated, but also be in the top 10? Let's talk about the Colts. After week 1 and Daniel Jones had a very, very good game, everyone was wondering, can Indiana Jones do it again? And the answer was a resounding yes. And it was a close game, don't get me wrong. Daniel Jones played well, Jonathan Taylor played well. That offensive line, which I had some concerns about because they lost a couple pieces during the offseason, they were really good against that Broncos pass rush. And Colts fans, their hearts had to be pounding because they thought they lost that game on Sunday, but then they saw a yellow flag.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
If you thought leverage was bad for the Packers-Jets trade for Aaron Rodgers, oh, Broncos fans, you didn't see anything. 15 yards later, they kick the game winner, and the Colts are 2-0. And here's the thing about the Colts. I don't think they're just getting lucky. Daniel Jones is playing efficient football. I think it helps a ton to, one, have a good running back in Jonathan Taylor. Because you look at Jones's past seasons with the Giants, he did well when Saquon Barkley was going off. And so to have Jonathan Taylor and actually have a good offensive line, he's an efficient quarterback. Also on top of that, that defense looking pretty good as well. So there's a lot to be excited about in Indianapolis. And on top of that, they're on top of the AFC South. With the Texans not having an offensive line and things are, crumbling a bit. The Titans, they're 0-2. You got the Jaguars who couldn't put it together this past Sunday. They are in sole possession of the AFC South after the first 2 weeks. We're going to see how real this team is going forward. But for now, Colts fans, just freaking frack and enjoy it. Number 9. Welcome back. You got the Detroit Lions. The Lions. Whew, it looked ugly last week against the Green Bay Packers. That offense could not move the ball whatsoever. Besides a late Tesla catch, one-handed catch against the Packers, they didn't score a single touchdown because apparently they were just saving it all this week for Ben Johnson. They blew out the Chicago Bears, and that Bears pass rush, they couldn't do anything to that offensive line.
Do you have any sevens?
The Lions offense was firing on all cylinders. Jared Goff threw 5 touchdowns, no turnovers, didn't have a sack. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had 3 touchdowns. And overall, it was night and day compared to week 1. Now, that being said, the Bears, probably not a good football team this year. You look at Chicago, who struggled against a Vikings team and ultimately lost to J.J. McCarthy, who did not look good this past week. Yes, the Vikings had a litany of injuries, and so you can't really judge them fully. But overall for Chicago, starting 0-2 within the division is not a good look. I do think it's going to take some time for Caleb Williams to get used to Ben Johnson's scheme. You look at that offensive line and trying to keep Caleb Williams upright. But overall for the Lions, this was a really big week. It was back to form, and that offense looks to be pretty darn good heading into week 3. They have a major challenge in the Baltimore Ravens on Monday night, which should be a phenomenal game. So we're about to see, was it the Bears being really bad? Is it the Lions being really good? We'll see on Monday night. Number 8, you got the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons. Holy cow, they were impressive on Sunday. And as we mentioned before, talking about the Vikings offense and defense, a litany of injuries. They were missing O-linemen. J.J. McCarthy got banged up at the end of the game. He's going to miss some time. And so it's tough to fully judge the Vikings, but also tough to judge the Falcons as well. However, looking at their week 1 loss against the Buccaneers, they went toe-to-toe with them, and they looked pretty good. If it wasn't for a Younghoe Koo miss, they could have tied that game, and who knows what would have happened in overtime. They brought in a brand new kicker who had a great night on Sunday after that first kick was a little bit wobbly, and they dominated that game. Not only did Penix look good, but between Bijan and Algier, how do you even decide between the two?
Which would you prefer?
Both. Both is good.
So not only do they have a great run game, but looking at that defense, because if the Falcons were going to take another step this year, that defense needed to step up, and they did. Those rookies had a phenomenal night, whether it was sacks, whether it was interceptions. They made a big mark on that game, and they felt like a very opportunistic team. And if the Falcons can do that going forward and that defense can continue to evolve, Penix can continue to look good, the Falcons look to be in pretty darn good shape, and they will be contending for that division title. And so for now, after a big win on Sunday Night Football, the Falcons get number 8. Let's see how high they can fly. Number 7. You got the LA Rams. The Rams. I picked them to represent the NFC West this week on the power rankings. I was thinking about putting the Cardinals there for a hot second, but they scare me with how they can't close out games. So for right now, you just remain a dark horse. It's okay. No one's talking about you. That's good. Anyway, talking about the Rams, another impressive win. They were able to knock down the Titans. Cam Ward, I'm so sorry for everything that's happening to you. We'll see if you have a head coach by the end of the season. But we're talking about the Rams right now. The defense, they were able to sack Cam Ward 5 times. That pass rush looking just as good as it was last season. On top of that, seeing Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams together, it's a beautiful sight. And it was much better than that movie that we just showed. But Devontae Adams making his presence known in LA and showing that he still got it. Obviously, as a Packers fan, I love Devontae Adams, but seeing him play on the Jets, it was very evident that he still had a lot left in the tank. He was their leading receiver this week. Puka still had a nice week. And if that offense can continue to hum and they supplement it with a good ground game like they had on Sunday, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think they might be one of those teams that you're not going to want to see in the postseason, just like last year. Not only did they beat the Vikings, but they went toe-to-toe with the Eagles as well. And so for right now, the 2-0 Rams are sitting at number 7, and they're looking pretty good. Number 6, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, what a game on Monday night. And there were times where it was very difficult watching both QBs behind those O-lines.
Stop! He's already dead.
I'm so sorry, CJ Stroud and Baker Mayfield. However, for the Texans, they're in a little bit more trouble because I don't know if that offensive line is going to get better. But I'm talking about the Buccaneers right now for a reason. And the reason I have them at number 6 is because even with a bunch of injuries, they're still able to win these games. They were able to beat the Falcons last week, who were on the top 10. But on top of that, heading into this game without Tristan Wirfs, without Chris Godwin, they were still able to get it done. And Baker Mayfield, holy cow, man, he is one tough son of a gun. Calling game and just running for it on 4th down, keeping that drive alive and eventually leading it into a touchdown. Baker Mayfield, man, he is a freaking damn good quarterback. Look away, Browns fans. I know how painful that is. But looking at the Buccaneers, the thing that excites me about them is not only are they contenders to win their division, and they got a big week 1 win against the Falcons, but they should be better going forward. Once they have Godwin, once that offensive line is back to full strength, Baker's going to have more time. They're going to have even more options to throw to. And I love Bucky Irving and Rashad White. They had a really nice night against a tough Texans defense. And so overall, they seem like a very balanced football team. Their pass rush was able to get after CJ Stroud. I don't know if that's because their pass rush is really good or just because the Texans O-line is really bad. But either or, it doesn't matter. The Buccaneers, they are a team to be reckoned with this year. And I'm excited to see them going forward. Number 5, you got the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens. Oh boy. Well, after losing last week, I think it's safe to say the Ravens had a little bit of anger heading into this game.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
And while it was very close in the first half against the Cleveland Browns, they then beat the ever-living crap out of Cleveland. And I gotta give the Browns credit. They talked a bunch of smack. They were like, oh, we could tackle Derrick Henry. And they did. Derrick Henry was really limited in that game. And so Lamar Jackson said, okay, I'm gonna take over now. Lamar having a phenomenal game. He's had 2 amazing back-to-back weeks, and this was definitely a return to form. Jair Alexander was a healthy scratch heading into this game, which is definitely concerning. I know he did not look very good against Buffalo. And of course, dealing with all those injuries, it's just not a good look going forward. So I still am a little bit concerned about that secondary, not their safety unit, but looking at their corners. But ultimately, the Ravens could put up a ton of points. Back-to-back weeks of over 40 points is incredibly impressive. And even though it's only week 3, they are looking to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Like I said earlier, they have a great matchup on Monday Night Football against the Lions. I think that game could absolutely be a shootout. Both teams' secondaries are a little bit suspect, even though Brian Branch is really good for the Lions, but that should be a great showdown on Monday night. And so the Ravens, they beat a division rival, and they keep on going. Number 4, you got the LA Chargers. The Chargers, after having a great week 1 and knocking off the Chiefs in Brazil, they were able to take care of business against the Raiders, who had opportunities in that game. The Raiders defense definitely played well. And Justin Herbert, he had a great night, but we got to talk about that defense. Whew. 2 weeks in a row, that run defense is looking good. And while Geno Smith was definitely not helping things, throwing into double coverage, 3 interceptions on the night, that Chargers secondary was feasting. And I gotta say, things are looking pretty great in LA. Chargers fans, though, I feel like they're just waiting for things to go wrong.
Michael, see that helicopter? See it right there? Right in front of us there.
Yeah.
I think it's been following me all morning.
Hey, what are you, nuts?
I'm telling you.
The Chiefs are 0-2, the Broncos lost a heartbreaker, and the Chargers are looking like one of the more balanced teams in the AFC. It's going to be really interesting tracking them throughout this season. If that defense can remain as good as it was already good last season. And so with Harbaugh, I think they have a chance to not Charger things going forward. I'm curious to see them against some better opponents because I just don't know how good the Raiders are going to be this year. But ultimately, the Chargers deserve a ton of credit, and that is why they're at number 4. Number 3, you got the Buffalo Bills. A little bit of a more relaxed game this week for Bills fans who their blood pressure was skyrocketing last week against the Ravens. They were able to take care of the Jets. Justin Fields diagnosed with a concussion. Hopefully he is okay. But Josh Allen, he just wanted a fun, painless win against the Jets.
Who's got your nose? Who's got He's got my nose!
And then they decided to bash his nose in. But it didn't matter. Josh Allen didn't even have to do a whole lot. James Cook was really damn good in that game. One of the many reasons why they re-signed him. And again, talking about this Bills offense, that's what makes them better. They started last season having this balanced run game. And if they're able to have that this season as well, they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC. I still am a little concerned about their defense. However, when Hairston comes back, I might feel a little bit better about that secondary. And the only reason why the Bills are a notch lower this week is because the quality of the competition I don't feel was very high against the Jets because, let's be honest, they did not look great. But this is a big divisional win for them, starting the season off 2-0. And the Bills, again, we're just waiting to see if they can go all the way this time. Number 2, so close. You got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. Oh, the Packers, they took care of business against the Washington Commanders. They looked real good. That defense, we were wondering heading into Thursday night, is it for real? They were able to keep the Lions under 50 yards rushing. Could they do it again against a top 3 rushing team last year? The answer was yes. Yes, they could. Because that Packers defense, oh God, it's incredible. Not only is the pass rush looking good, the run defense, which was supposed to be so bad, signing Micah Parsons and trading away Kenny Clark, is one of the best in the NFL. They have held both opponents, both the Lions and the Commanders combined, to under 100 rushing yards. And with this win, the Packers find themselves at 2-0 and once again atop the NFC North.
Perfectly balanced, this whole thing should be.
And I gotta be honest, as a Packers fan, I'm trying to temper my expectations because this is exciting, man. Just seeing how good this defense is, especially that pass rush, which was a weak point last year, I could not be happier. And talking about the secondary, Keyshawn Nixon had 5 pass breakups on Thursday, and this is against a good Commanders team. And while I know Commanders fans are a little bit down after this past Thursday, I still think they're gonna be a good team going forward this season. I know Jaden Daniels is banged up. Hopefully he recovers soon. I know Austin Eckler also suffered a major injury, as did Jaden Reed. Eckler's going to be missing the season, with Jaden Reed is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. That gives opportunities for guys like Matthew Golden or Savion Williams to step up, so I'm very excited to see that. And the reason why I have the Packers at number 2 is because I think the quality of their opponents in back-to-back weeks on a short week were some of the top of the NFL last year. Going against the Lions, going against the Commanders, I think they deserve that number 2 spot. And Eagles, we coming for you. And that brings us to number 1. You got the Philadelphia Eagles. A hard-fought game. Going to Arrowhead, always a tough place to play. And the Chiefs, they brought it, man. The Eagles defense looked much better this week with a returning Jalen Carter because he didn't spit on anybody this time. And Patrick Mahomes didn't spit at him because, of course, hashtag Dak spit first. Taking a look at this Eagles team, they still seem as balanced as ever. While there's some things that don't look completely polished, I believe in this team's defense and the efficiency of their offense to get it done. They're the kind of team that could just hand it to Saquon Barkley and burn the clock. They can stop the run. Their secondary was incredible last year. And hell, Jalen Hurts put up barely 100 passing yards against the Chiefs. But if you ask any QB,
it don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
It's true, Vin Diesel. But the Eagles, I still think, are atop the NFC. They are still the team to beat within that conference. And while the Cowboys did struggle against the Giants this week, they are definitely capable of putting up a lot of points, which makes last week's game look even better for the Eagles without Jalen Carter. And heading into this week, knocking off the Chiefs in Arrowhead, always a difficult task. They did it. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just hard-fought football, a couple false starts that weren't called, but the Eagles remain atop the power rankings. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got the Eagles, 2, the Packers, 3, Bills, 4, Chargers, 5, Ravens, 6, Buccaneers, 7, Rams, 8, Falcons, 9, Lions, and 10, Colts. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Which teams do you think should be on this list? Which teams do you think should be higher or lower? A shout out to the Patriots. Drake May looked better winning in Florida, though it was against the Dolphins, which, I'm sorry, Dolphins fans. Hockey season's around the corner. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com. A big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you, folks. I turned 35 today. There is nothing else I'd rather be doing on this planet. So thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you for tuning in over the past decade. And I appreciate the ever-living hell out of you. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.